Broadcasting from the KMF Collective Studio, it's time for the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. This limited release show features the stories of the 2020 contestants of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's athletic competition, NBC's The Titan Games. Now, here's your host, Katie Galley.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 21 of the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. I'm your host, Katie Galley. In the KMF Collective Studio with me today, I have Titan Games athlete, CrossFitter, wildland firefighter, full-time student, and puppy mom, Kelly Valdez. How are you doing, Kelly?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing awesome. Thank you so much for stopping by and sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, of course. I'm super excited.
Me too, Kelly. And so just to get to know your background a little bit, where did you grow up and how, if at all, was your childhood shaped by athletics?
So I'm originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's where I lived until I was 22 when I joined the Coast Guard. And my parents started me in gymnastics when I was 2 years old. So pretty much from the beginning, I learned how to work hard and be athletic. So I did gymnastics competitively until I was about 16. Mm-hmm. Then when I started high school, I kind of either had to commit to gymnastics all the time and get rid of my social life or switch the other way. So I kind of went with just being a normal high school student and kind of stopped doing gymnastics. I switched into cheerleading and running track so I could be kind of a normal high school kid and a little more social. And then after high school was when I actually started really working out, lifting weights and stuff. Because before that it was just gymnastics, running, never any weight training type of stuff. And then actually very self-conscious throughout high school. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin and just the way that I looked. I didn't like it. I was just very skinny and not muscular. So yeah, after high school was when I started doing CrossFit. It was actually my mom who got me into it because she saw it and she wanted to try. And she's like, hey, do you want to just come try this with me? I was like, yeah, whatever. Why not? And then I fell in love with it, and I loved the strength aspect of it. And that was when I really got into CrossFit and then powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting. And it was incredible the way my body changed. I actually gained almost 40 pounds between when I started CrossFit to now.
I love that. I mean, having that feeling self-conscious, but then finding a sport that allowed you to really explore in a new way how to become strong. And I'm sure you had that carryover from gymnastics, having that strength and that ability. But then I guess with lifting, that would be founded in a new way.
Yeah, and it just kind of helped me focus more on what my body can do and be proud of the physical goals that I was making as opposed to just kind of being focusing on the way my body looks. And that was just where my self-confidence was able to grow, and I kind of stopped worrying about just the way I looked in the mirror or how much I weighed, and I was able to just really dive in and focus on how much my body can lift and how fast it can move, and it was just incredible.
And so with CrossFit, where have you taken this sport now? Do you have aspirations to kind of try and climb to the highest levels? Where do you see yourself going?
I don't, just because I like to say that I'm very average at everything. So I like to compete in CrossFit, but I also do powerlifting competitions and Olympic weightlifting competitions. And my job forces me to do long distance trail running. So I never like to just dive into one thing specifically to be able to be really good at it. So I'm perfectly fine with being able to compete at a somewhat high level, but never at the top of all these different sports because it's just more fun for me that way. And I never want to have to see training as a chore and not enjoy it. So now I love being able to powerlift one day and do some CrossFit the next day or go on a 10-mile trail run the next day and just kind of change it up and have fun with my training.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Kind of spreading yourself out, being able to do all these different things and do them well because you've trained for them. But it's more so, like you said, the competing is fun, but it's more so you're prepared for your job.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so, Kelly, then at 22, what made you decide that you wanted to join the Coast Guard, and how did it set you on the path that ultimately led you to where you are today in your career?
Well, when I was out of high school, I was working in the human resources department of a health insurance company, and I hated it. So I just sat at a computer all day long, and it just wasn't fun for me, and I knew that I needed to do some kind of like physical job.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a bunch of people at my CrossFit gym who were in the Coast Guard. And so they kind of talked me into it, and my dad and my uncles, my grandpa, they were all former like Navy and Air Force. So the military like aspect was kind of in my family. So I was like, all right, you know what, like I'll give Coast Guard a try. And I actually loved it. I was an electrician in the Coast Guard for 5 years, and I'm actually still in the reserves now. I
Wow.
would have stayed in active duty, but they wanted to send me to Puerto Rico,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband's a sheriff for Orange County, so he couldn't move around with me. So that was kind of the deciding factor when they wanted to send me down to Puerto Rico. I was like, all right, I'll just get out. I'll look for something else. And I always kind of wanted to be a firefighter. I thought either military or firefighter. I went the military route, and then when I got out, I was like, well, might as well give firefighting a try now because it was something I'd always been interested in. So now I work for the U.S. Forest Service doing wildland firefighting.
Wow. And so how did you get involved with that specifically?
I was actually going to college here for fire science classes,
Oh.
and one of the teachers mentioned, they were like, hey, the Forest Service is looking for, they're looking for people for basically like an on-call kind of crew, just so if like there's big fires and they need extra people, they just call you and then you come and help. But when I was doing the training for that, there was a captain there, and after he watched us working out, they had us like pulling fire hose and everything, and he came up to me and he's like, you're not going to do this. He's like, you're going to come work on my engine. And they actually gave me a full-time job working for him.
Wow, that's pretty amazing
Yeah.
having that opportunity. And so then, Kelly, I mean, leading this life, like you said, so being a wildland fighter, then how does being a full-time student play into the mix?
It's definitely pretty challenging, but luckily I'm able to do full-time classes online and just go into school 1 day a week.
Oh, wow, that's
So
great.
yeah, so it's on my day off, so I really only get like 1 day off, but
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. And I try to just get my schoolwork done as early as I can. So if there is a fire and we have to leave for a week and I miss some stuff, then it's not like if I'm ahead, then I'm really not missing much. And the classes that I'm taking are all fire science classes because most of the people in those classes want to be firefighters. So the teachers are very like lenient and they kind of work with me if I do have to leave. So luckily, I've been able to figure everything out and make it work so far.
And that, I mean, that's great having teachers that really understand because that is what you're in school for, to further your education and pursuits for being a firefighter.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so, Kelly, now leading this this path and I mean, achieving so many great things, what ultimately led you to be a contestant on this season of the Titan Games?
I had actually sent in a application last year to be on American Ninja Warrior.
Oh, wow.
And then 3 days before I was supposed to leave to go compete for it, I partially tore my lat.
Oh.
So I couldn't go. And then luckily the people that are the producers for that show also do Titan Games. So they actually reached out to me, like this was like 8 months after Ninja Warrior. They're like, hey, like if you're all healed, we think you'd be great for this show. And I was super excited because I'd watched the first season and actually thought that that was like more my jam than Ninja Warrior because I'm like a kind of thicker, stronger athlete, and Ninja Warrior would have been like fairly hard for me. So I was like, oh, perfect. I was like, yes, I'm all in. Let's do it. So I got the opportunity to go out to LA and they did a combine there. And then from the combine, they picked 16 girls and 16 guys. And then luckily they picked me and I got to go compete.
Man. I mean, that really is amazing. It didn't work out in exactly the way you thought initially because you got injured, but then having this opportunity come out of the woodwork too, that's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it was awesome. I was so excited.
I bet. And so, Kelly, coming off of that experience and being a part of the Titan Games and knowing too that it was created by The Rock, I wonder, do you have any recollection of maybe when you first became aware of who The Rock was, maybe at a young age, or just any time you really just became aware of who he was as a person?
Oh man, I don't remember like when I first became aware of him. I just know I've always kind of like thought of him as an awesome guy because he's just, I mean, he's an actor and he's, I'm sure, super, super busy with everything that's going on, but he still makes the time to work out every day and take his nutrition and health and everything really seriously, which is super awesome. And then getting to meet him and realizing and seeing that he really genuinely is as nice as he seems on TV just made me think of him as that much cooler.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, he's there. It's like you don't remember him not being there. He's always been out there doing something.
Yeah.
And so Kelly, now for you really having this experience and then too, being around individuals who've overcome incredible obstacles and are achieving great things just like yourself, being around these other Titans and aspiring Titans, what would you say is your definition of a Titan?
I would say my definition of a Titan is someone who's just been able to push through anything that life has had to throw at them. And that's exactly how every contestant on that show is. Getting to meet everyone was so incredible. It's like literally the coolest group of people I've ever met. We still have a group message and we talk every day. And those people, the stuff that they've gone through and overcome is just incredible.
Mm-hmm. I bet. And I love too that you guys still communicate. You still have that. It's like you really genuinely created a bond.
Yeah, we did. The first day that the show premiered on TV, we had a big group FaceTime with everyone, and we were all watching it, and it was super cool.
Oh, I love that. That's so sweet. I mean, being able to stay connected like that. Well, Kelly, just with everything you've achieved and are still achieving, and I mean, it's so cool, everything you're doing, being a firefighter, still in school, CrossFit, bodybuilding, everything, powerlifting, everything that you're doing in this pursuit. And then two, now having the opportunity to pivot and be on the Titan Games, looking forward, knowing that you're going to achieve so much and everything that you set your mind to. I just have one final question that I ask all of my interviewees. What do you want to be remembered for?
I would like to be remembered for just helping motivate anyone to make their life better. Because there's a lot of people that come to me, they're like, how do you train as much as you do all the time? And I was like, it's not easy. I have days just like everyone else where they don't want to eat healthy and they don't want to work out. But if I can just help motivate anyone to push through one of those days, then I'll be happy.
Thank you all for tuning in to today's installment of the Athletes of the Titan Games podcast. To learn more about each of these Titan athletes, be sure to check out their information in the links in my show notes. Furthermore, to stay up to date on all things coming out of the KMF Collective, be sure to subscribe to the Keep Moving Forward YouTube channel and follow along on social media, also available in the show notes. As the creator of the Titan Games, Mr. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson says, Titans aren't born, they're made. And I hope today's story helped you realize all that you are capable of becoming if you put in that hard work and just keep moving forward.